I'd like to take you through some exercises, abdominal exercises, that really should be avoided in the case of pelvic floor dysfunction, and just teach you how to modify some regular abdominal exercises that are performed. So we know that intense abdominal core exercises place pressure on the pelvic floor. If you're a woman who's at risk of pelvic floor dysfunction, perhaps you've had some gynaecological surgery, perhaps you have prolapse or incontinence problems. These are the types of exercises to avoid or to modify with your regular exercise program. Let's start with one of the most common exercises. Most common exercise obviously being a sit-up exercise performed lying on your back and lifting head and shoulders. So really we know that any exercise that involves lifting the head and shoulders off the ground increases that downward pressure on the pelvic floor, and that's really an exercise to avoid. So unfortunately there's not modifications for that particular sit-up exercise. The other exercise that we know that increases the pressure on the pelvic floor is any abdominal exercise done raising both legs off the ground. And I think you'll agree with me, that's one of your tabletop exercises that's done commonly in any Pilates class, or most Pilates classes at the start of the class. You can readily modify that type of an exercise by keeping your head down, arms down by your side, and just raising one leg in the air. So that then doesn't involve such intense core abdominal activation. And then you can go ahead with your exercises, extending your leg, doing a combination of arms and legs, and keeping the exercise pelvic floor safe. So single leg raise, keeping head and shoulders off the ground, not with head and shoulders off the even keeping your head and shoulders on the ground. All right, a couple of other exercises. Let's have a look at commonly performed exercises in other classes, the plank and the hover. Now, these exercises, such as the plank, we often see this exercise, a full plank and hover, performed in that position. So you can readily modify this exercise to be more pelvic floor friendly. One way of doing this is coming onto the knees and keeping the feet down, so in that position, and just lowering the tummy, lowering the pelvis down towards the mat. That in itself is an abdominal exercise. This can also be modified coming down onto the ground, starting with your forearms down on the ground and just lifting in that position. So that exercise there involves a much less strain on the abdominals as opposed to that exercise there. So if you're in a mainstream class, you can modify that exercise just simply coming up on your knees. If you wanted to make it a little bit more challenging, you could take your feet off the ground. So that's a simple modification to make to some common exercise, that commonly performed exercises. So there you have it, a couple of simple modifications, avoiding sit-up exercises, avoiding exercises with both legs off the ground, with head and shoulders off the ground, and just using some simple modification techniques to keep your exercises pelvic floor friendly. For more information on pelvic floor safe exercises, please visit us at pelvicexercises.com.au, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye for now.